Have you ever stopped to think about why being alone makes you so uncomfortable? Not the kind of loneliness that comes after a breakup or when friends are busy, but the silence that creeps in when you're truly by yourself. That silence that echoes your own thoughts louder than you'd like. Our modern world keeps us constantly stimulated, distracted, and surrounded. Yet, when the noise fades and there's no one around, something inside panics. That unsettling feeling isn't random. It's deeply rooted in how we were taught to see ourselves and the world, and philosophy. It's been questioning this fear for centuries. Why does solitude feel like a threat when it could be peace? What if the fear of being alone reveals more about our connection with ourselves than with others? Let's start from the beginning. Since childhood, we've been taught that being loved, accepted, and surrounded by others is the ultimate goal. Loneliness was never framed as a natural state. It was something to be avoided, fixed, or feared. Movies, songs, even childhood fairy tales reinforce the idea that to be alone is to be broken. And what does that do to us? It builds the belief that our value comes from the outside, from relationships, from applause, from presence. The fear of being alone isn't really about solitude. It's about what we think it says about us. That we're unlovable, forgotten, unimportant. But is that really true, or are we just conditioned to think so? French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Hell is other people." But he wasn't suggesting we should isolate ourselves. What he meant was that we often shape our identity through the eyes of others. We become prisoners of external judgment, constantly performing to be liked, accepted, validated. So when we're alone, and there's no one watching, no one applauding or criticizing, we feel invisible, lost. It's as if without an audience, we stop existing. But here's the twist. True freedom might only begin when we break that mirror of expectations. Solitude from this lens isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It's the space where we finally meet ourselves without the mask. The Stoics had a radically different view. Thinkers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius believed that peace comes from within, not from the chaos around us. For them, solitude wasn't a punishment. It was a practice, an opportunity to strengthen the mind, to reflect, to grow. Epictetus said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." And you can't master yourself if you're always escaping your own company. Every moment alone is an invitation to listen, not to music or social media, but to your own breath, your fears, your truth. Only in solitude do we discover which parts of us are truly ours and which were borrowed from others. But facing yourself is hard, really hard. That's why many run from it. Being alone strips away distractions, and with them, excuses. It forces us to sit with the raw version of who we are. The insecurities, the regrets, the dreams we buried. Alone, there's no one to blame, just silence. And in that silence, the voice of your deepest self starts to speak. Sometimes it whispers pain, other times it begs for change, and occasionally it offers peace. But you'll never hear it if you don't stay long enough. That's the paradox. The moment you stop running from solitude, it becomes the safest place to heal. Learning to be alone is not about isolation. It's about independence. It's not about rejecting love, but about no longer depending on it to define you. Imagine a person who's at peace in their own presence. They don't seek noise to drown, their thoughts or people to fill their void. They choose company, but they don't need it. That's the kind of strength the world doesn't teach, but desperately needs. Solitude, when embraced, becomes a superpower. It gives you space to think, to rebuild, to dream without interference. And when you reconnect with others, you do it not from need, but from choice. That's freedom. We finally learn how to enjoy our own company. We become capable of truly connecting with others, not out of fear or dependency, but out of choice. Solitude reveals the truth. Being alone isn't the enemy. It's A mirror. And in that mirror, we see who we really are without masks, roles, or noise. That level of clarity is terrifying to some, but it's also the beginning of real freedom. So now, a question remains for you. Are you running away from being alone, or are you running toward yourself? If this reflection made you pause, even for a moment, share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who might need to hear what you have to say. And if you want to keep exploring the questions that truly matter, ones that no one dares to ask, subscribe. This is just the beginning. See you.